Hi,
Hello, Mr.
Sarah.
Hostettler. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm so pleased to see you. Thank you so much for being game to do this with me. Looks like Wi-Fi is getting getting stabilized over there. Give him a second. Thanks for joining, everybody. We are get going in just a sec. There you are.
There I am.
Awesome. Get settled. I know it takes a little bit of technology to get this thing going.
Sure does.
Well, again, thank you so much. What we're going to do is give people a few minutes to sign on.
Okay.
While that's happening, I will just make a couple of housekeeping announcements as a board member of Indy Congress. So I'll get that out of the way, and then we'll dive in.
Great.
Okay. So as you're tuning in, I'm Sarah Eustace, CEO of Main Street Hospitality Group, and I will introduce my esteemed guest in just a minute. But before I do that, I serve as a member of the advisory board of the Independent Lodging Congress, an amazing organization that has been in existence for almost 8 years, founded by Andrew Benioff, a friend and colleague, I'm proud to say. So we really want to support the ongoing kind of dynamic conversations around independent hospitality. And the ways we can do that is by staying engaged with ILC. So there are sessions happening now every week, right at this 12:30 slot, when you're grabbing lunch or wanting to take a break and get inspired. Another of our ILC board members, Damon Lawrence, will be hosting Elvina Beck, founder of Podshare, this week. So check that out. Should be really interesting. Please follow us on Instagram and check out our LinkedIn and Instagram giveaways. They're fun little things to win if you tag us in your posts and in your profiles. And we also ask that people who are enjoying and getting benefit from these conversations consider a contribution, because as we know, the conferences are not happening this year, and we're trying to keep the conversation going in a creative way in spite of that. So we really want to support ILC, and in any even in a modest way, everything helps. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so that is done. That's my housekeeping. And I am really pleased to get to talk today with Daniel Hostettler, who is President and Group Managing Director at Ocean House Management, OHM for short, as well as President North America at Relais Chateau, which is also an amazing organization. So Daniel, it's been a while since we've seen each other, but we have a lot of good mutual connections in the hospitality
Yes.
business, including Matthew Ahrens, who we both work with very closely, as well as others.
Right.
And our group, Main Street, is based in the Berkshires. As you know, we are growing in our niche in terms of what we do, and we had a beautiful Relais Chateau property in our family portfolio up until a few years ago, which was Blantyre. So I know you know that property pretty well.
Yes. Fondly.
Yeah. So the nature of these conversations are meant to be very, really relaxed and very genuine. And for those who are joining, to have the benefit of your point of view, and what life looks like from where you sit. We're all tired of talking about COVID.
Yes.
So, but we may need to talk about some elements of it, more so from my perspective, in the sense of, what's changing, what might be changing permanently in your mind. We'll go through some thoughts, and we can meander
Okay.
in our discussion. Okay. But I have a couple of thought starters that maybe just could kick us off. I mean, I think the title of our talk was really thinking about the luxury market. I mean, I think you at Ocean House are a leader in that sector, and at Relais Chateau, obviously. Could you start us off with just some general themes about um, sort of responses and demand in the luxury space right now, and how you might characterize what's going on?
Well, I think, looking at our own properties and looking at all of the relays that I work with in North America, it really depends completely on your market. I think those of us, like you and we, where you are in a good drive market, you're really, we didn't feel the hit as badly as, for instance, we have a property that we manage right outside of Boston in um, Lexington, Massachusetts, and it has really felt the COVID hit, whereas our properties have really not. We will probably do extremely well this year, and probably achieve budget. And I think that is because, when you look at, the financial meltdown of 2008, 9, and you look at, 9/11, the first thing that bounced back was the luxury market and the independent market and that sort of New England drive market. So I think for us, our properties are all in New England. We're very fortunate. When I speak to other relays, if they are in drive markets that have a large, good, large, healthy drive market of luxury, they're coming back very, very quickly. Whereas the city properties, I think, are going to take a while.
Indeed, I think that you're right on point. Are you seeing a lot of new faces?
Yes.
That's interesting. So are we.
My finance director was just lamenting yesterday that we've paid the highest amount of travel agent commission in the history of the company this year, and I told him to stop his whining, because those were all travel agents that, they are coming out of the woodwork, new agents, and I thought we had pretty good agent coverage. But I think there's so many travel agents that are traditionally sending their guests on cruises into Europe, etc. And again, our the luxury agents are very often based in Boston, New York, New Jersey, for this part of the country, and they've discovered us, and their clients are asking them to find them something safe and closer to home. And I think this is where the independents have one up over the sort of the big box properties, where there's going to be 300-400 rooms, and with our properties, there's less than 100 at almost all of them, and so it feels safer, and we're getting a whole lot new agent business. And I think for the future that bodes well as well, because the guests that I'm speaking to that have been here for the very first time have all said we'll be back. So I think that for many of us, it's a whole new market of people who maybe didn't think Rhode Island for us, or New England in general, was on their summer radar because they went to Europe or jumped on a cruise.
I know. So again, we're trying to find these opportunities that really are present if we are looking for them, and we're finding the same thing, in the Berkshires, where, for instance, Tanglewood and some of the culturals drew these guests every single summer. We've done, not, I don't think as robustly as you've described, but we've done well. At least we've exceeded our expectations, and there have been new people coming for new reasons. So now it's up to us to keep them.
Yes.
We felt the same thing. That's exciting.
And I think that it's also up to us to continue to court that travel agent market. I think that they're in the same position that many of us as hoteliers are in. Their business has gone away and changed, and I find that we're participating just today in a series of Relais and Chateau sort of road shows via Zoom. Which is a nice new inexpensive way to do travel agent roadshows when your salesperson can stay home. But the agents are the number of agents and the number of new agents that I see on those calls is amazing, because they're all looking for a new product. So I would say to all of our independent hoteliers, work the agent market, because they really are looking for new things they haven't heard before, because their clients want something new and different. And that's us. That's the independents.
That's really good. I wrote that down, Daniel. I'm going to go talk to some people about traveling, because we don't, we're in more the boutique sort of
Right.
upscale market, not in pure luxury per se, but we don't think about them as good. So that's great. If that's one pro tip that we will definitely all take away. Um, So any, in terms of everyone's, we're still intrigued by creative responses to COVID. So in your property specifically, or at Relais Chateau in general, any responses or creative things that have been happening that you might want to share?
Well, I think that, in general at Relay, and at our own properties, we took a, it's going to be different approach to the hospitality business, as opposed to it's going to be less. There were some asset managers that shall go unmentioned who said, "Hey, service and get away with it," because people are expecting a little less. And I think with Relay, we said we're not going to cut our services. Things are going to have to be different because of COVID, but they were going to be different in a good way. So I know, my favorite example is Patrick O'Connell at the Inn at Little Washington, who got great PR in the news because he got mannequins from theater and put them at the tables
Yes,
for social distancing, so it would feel like his restaurant was full, because he's always famous for his vibe, which I thought was cute.
love. Yeah,
For us, we partnered with Tito's Vodka, and we did a pop up taco restaurant at the beach, so that it would be nice and simple, and you wouldn't have to stand in line. It was sort of grab and go, because grab and go was a theme. One of the other creative things we did, because we knew people weren't going to be able to be allowed in bars in New England, was we got one of these sort of custom designed bar carts, and it looks not unlike the one they push down the aisle on an airplane. And we went door to door from 5 to 7 every night and gave two complimentary hors d'oeuvres. And then we tried to sell you an expensive, $15-20 cocktail, because we figured people still wanted to drink. They just couldn't stand in
they
line
do.
at the bar to get a drink, right?
Drinking has taken on I think
Drinking
kind of
our wine sales have never been higher. So drinking is the whole new norm, I guess.
yes, but that's lovely. I remember staying at a Soho house once. They have something called One While Dressing, where the bar cart came around between 5 and 7, and it was just the pinnacle of civilization. I thought it was great, but that's great. So exactly those kinds of responses. Now,
Yeah.
I think in the luxury space, and in the expectations that your guests have, different. We all have bottom lines that are being taxed and challenged in ways that we never imagined, but nonetheless, choosing those moments where the experience has to be as rich and wonderful as ever. It's critical, especially in your sector, I would think.
Yeah, I think you have to you either have to cut the service and cut the rate, or you have to keep the service up and and support the rate by coming up with fun, sort of whimsical. You're right. We're not selling a tremendous amount of cocktails. I'm sure if we're lucky on any given night we break even, because we're giving all the free hors d'oeuvres away. But it's another value add when you're trying to hold your rate, and obviously sophisticated customers are looking for a bargain because they know the hotel business is suffering. And we prefer to hold the line and come up with little whimsical value adds, and try to respond to the market that way.
Yep. And it's interesting, at the Red Lion Inn in Stockbridge, which is a very different kind of property, but nonetheless an iconic place where there are a lot of traditions that people count on. We've had so many interesting conversations about the things that have to stay,
Right.
or the things that can change, but maybe even be different, not less. And it's been really creative. It's really fun, actually. Well, fun. Maybe I don't know if I'll call it fun. It's interesting, and it makes us better, I think.
Yes.
So what about another question that was in my mind, again, just in terms of how the world will change for better, for worse, or just forever, in fine dining at the level that you provide it. How do you see this tsunami of change affecting that permanently, or do you see us kind of going? I'm curious, because that's not. I don't have a lot of experience at the Relais Chateau level.
Interestingly, our fine dining has also never been busier. I think that we're a bit unique in in that New York drive market, in that fine dining went away in New York. Those relay properties like Danielle and 11 Madison are all closed up, and yet I think that market, it still enjoys the special occasion restaurant, and so for us, we are obviously practicing COVID distancing, and the staff is in masks and gloves, and we're doing disposable paper menus, things that we had not done previously in fine dining, the wine list on a QR code so that you don't have to hold it. But from a cover standpoint, we're about 20% higher than we were year to date last year in fine dining, because I think people have that pent up desire to sort of go on a date night that they can't do in our primary markets. Now, that's probably not for everyone, but when I speak to some of our other relays in fine dining, Patrick O'Connell, again, sold out weeks and weeks in advance, because he can do less numbers in fine dining, but people in the Washington, D.C. market, which is his market, can't do fine dining really in the city, so they're going out to the country properties. So again, I think it's that we're also all benefiting from being independents. I really believe that we have, in this particular case, all of us have the upper hand, because there's just a trust factor, I think, when you're going to a small sort of owner operated or small management company like we are running, you and I, as opposed to going to a Four Seasons or a Marriott or a Ritz Carlton, where you're going to bump into many people in the lobby and the elevators and things like that. There's just a perception that we're going to do a better job at it, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you. I know it sounds self-serving because we have a lot of colleagues in the industry who we want to succeed and who are probably
Absolutely.
facing more hardships than we are, frankly.
Yes.
But nonetheless, we can be grateful for the position that we're in. How are you training people differently in terms of how they're providing hospitality over a mask? And I'm always really interested in that piece of it.
We've always trained to smile, that even on the phone, that you hear that smile over the phone, right? So we're our big thing is you have to smile. You can't frown just because you're behind the mask, because you can still see that in the eyes and things. But that's probably, I think, that has been the hardest part, for all of us, at whatever sector you operate. That sort of human connection that is part of the hospitality business that isn't quite there, and how do we try and do that by, maybe it's the extra gift to turn down, or really working hard to use the guest name, or smiling behind the mask, and just making every effort to keep that there, because it's really what people are looking for, because it's what's lost in all of this.
Yeah, I that's very eloquently stated. And this whole idea of connection around the experience with, with the place or with the people who are there or with your staff. I think that is what I'm seeing as being there's more value to that now than ever. So it's incumbent upon us to deliver it in a way that is as genuine and reassuring as possible. The thing that I found myself thinking about recently too is that, we're in 7 months into this kind of new paradigm, and how we take care of our staff and our teams, because I see that, the unknown implications of what everybody's shouldering, whether
Yes.
it's wearing a mask all day, that we just have to watch for those. Are you seeing, whether it's signs of burnout or just, kind of fatigue, or, making sure people are recharging in a different way? Are you thinking about different approaches to staff support too?
I think that, I don't know that I would say we're seeing burnout, but I would say that we are very conscious of making sure that the staff knows that, regardless of the 5 sick day programs or whatever, that if you aren't feeling well, or you think you have COVID symptoms, that we're paying you to take that day off. And so we've sort of vastly changed our sick policy, because we really want the team to know that, where that what happens if you're out of your sick days and then you have, some COVID type symptoms. We want you to stay home. It's better for us. It's better for your fellow associates. It's better for the guests. And so that certainly is both a financial impact, obviously, but also having the team know that you really care first and foremost about their safety and their welfare, and that you also are going to make sure they don't take it in the wallet if they, because you don't want them coming in with symptoms because they're not going to get paid if they're at home,
Right.
so it's a fine balance, obviously, because you don't want to get any serial abusers to that. But I find that, again, in the world we're living in at the moment, I think people are happy in hospitality to have a job. So I think most of us that have kept our employees whole have fairly happy and loyal employees, and so I'm seeing that there's a very strong sort of morale that, this is a tough business, especially at our end of the market. But it seems to me that the morale at the end of the high season has been higher than it ever has been, because I think people are happy that it went so well. And just anecdotally, you were mentioning our colleagues and how challenging the times is. I think that one takeaway I have is how amazingly non-competitive our industry has been, how much sharing there has been, even through, you know, folks that, we don't normally, work in the same, markets, or we've never met. Certainly at Relais and Chateau, our 88 properties in North America that I'm responsible for, we were meeting weekly via Zoom to trade best practices and, what's your confirmation letter say to your guests, what policies are in place. But I'm getting, people I've never heard of that are not in Relais and Chateau that, have just read something about what Ocean House is doing, and they'll email or call me and say, how are you doing it? And I think we're all being very transparent with each other in, this is working for me, what's working for you, conversations like this of, we used to be all a little more competitive of, I'm gonna hide my best ideas because I don't want everybody else doing a bar cart down the hallway every afternoon. But now it's like, there's so much business to go around, I think, and we all have to take care of each other, because as an industry, we're fairly heavily hit, some of us less than others, but then it's our job to help the ones that are harder hit in, that I have property in California at the moment that, isn't going to be open for a year. And which of those staff can we take
Yeah.
for a year, because we need some staff under the proviso that we absolutely guarantee you're going to get them back again in a year. That sort of sharing is sort of
Yeah.
new as well.
That's excellent. And it does feel, without sounding corny or whatever, but it does feel that there is a stronger sense of solidarity. And I think that, and just learning from each other, whether it's regional, we have sort of a Berkshire-based hospitality group. We just opened in Newport, as you know.
Right.
And there's been just a great sort of openness between all of the owners and GMs in Newport. And it's just more fun. It feels
Yeah.
like maybe that's what hopefully will be a more permanent change.
Yeah,
Which
that
is,
spirit of camaraderie that I think is out there at the moment. That would be a nice permanent change.
that would be nice. Maybe we need to, we'll try to perpetuate that.
Right.
Okay. We have time for like one or two more questions. There's some great shout outs coming from people who are listening about ideas that they are appreciating that you're bringing up. So that's great. Okay, so we both share the best asset manager in the world, right?
Yes.
We do. No. And I guess my question is, I was thinking about this because Matt's been great, working with us and our specific product that we just kind of launched in, not kind of, launched in Newport with a very, very precise positioning, and it's working well. But in the luxury market, working with an asset manager in the way that you have for so much time at Ocean House, I'm sure there's good tension. I'm sure there, how does that, especially when it is, tensions between service and experience and bottom line, and how you manage that?
I think that, Matt is a great foil for us, because Matt as a typical asset manager, is very bottom line oriented, and was the first to say, well, what do we do to reduce the costs? And as a service provider, obviously, I'm extremely top line oriented. And we have a very slightly different philosophy. I believe if you deliver the service, the bottom line will come, and so I worry a lot more about the service and the top line, and figure it will trickle to the bottom line. But he has always been, not only in this process but over the years, he calls himself Dr. Doom, because he's always challenging us to, what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
What if it goes wrong? What's plan B? What's plan C? And I think that makes you stronger when you go into something like this of, we have a plan, and if that doesn't work, we've got another plan and another plan, and we have to be. And again, I think that's why we are independent hoteliers, because you can make those changes on a dime. You don't have to send it up to corporate and get that kind of approval. And I again look at the properties that have been most successful coming out of this. It hasn't been the big boxes. It's been the independents that can that have this creative thinking and creative asset managers and sharing best practices, and who don't need to go up 10 levels of permission to make a change. So that you did go into it and, what, that didn't work, so let's tweak that a little bit and now it works, or maybe we have to go to plan C.
Yeah, yeah. It's good. It works really well. I'm more in your camp. I'm your profile as
Right.
well, for our sector, and so he keeps it real with us.
Right.
One question that's coming in from the people who are listening in is just about anything that you're thinking about for winter in New England, that might be helpful for the group. Any adjustments or new protocols, or I know I'm certainly interested because we're right in the thick of that right now.
Yeah, off the top of my head, we are certainly, the holidays are going to be interesting. For us, we are going to do our traditional, Thanksgiving and Christmas Day brunches, which are buffets. So we're looking at how we do that behind the new, plexi screens and things like that. But at the same time, how do we take that same buffet and package it up, which we were successful at doing during Mother's Day, when this is all we did, of sort of packaging it as a 4 and a 6 and an 8-person dinner that you can order in advance, that is off the same menu we're already making, and you'll be able to drive up on Thanksgiving from 11 to 1 to valet parking, and we'll pop it in the back of your car and you'll keep driving, because I think that's a new market, on property, looking at how we create new experiences, especially in food and beverage, as we go into winter. One of our famous things here at the Ocean House is these 3 ski gondolas that we bought a couple years ago, that we have decorated like sort of Swiss Alpine lodges that have always been sort of popular. We have them open December and January, and they traditionally sell out. And you have cheese fondue, and it's essentially you get your own little gondola that seats 4, 6, or 8. Well, this year we brought them on 1st of October, because we said, it's going to start getting cold. What are people going to do? All these outdoor dining venues, all of us who set up restaurants in the parking lot. Our property in Lexington has those plastic igloos. We're going to give those a shot. We have 6 of them to put, 6 private dining tables in. Our sporting property here, called the Preserve, which actually just opened in July around the same time you guys did, is a sporting facility. It has an underground cave that I was just in last night. We turned it into a private sort of Hobbit house dining experience for 8 people, up to 8 people, and we test drove it last night. It's already sold out all through, it opens this Saturday, sold out November and December. I think people are looking to get out and have the dining experience. And these are not fine, cheese fondue is not a fine dining experience, and neither is
But it's
dining
fun.
in an igloo.
Yeah.
But they're looking for something fun. They're looking for something with I guess they're called pods, as opposed to their family, their friends that they trust, where you can put together a table for 6 or 8, and you're not inside. And I think that's what we all have to do going into the wintertime is we all had these great ideas of pop-up restaurants or our food truck in the parking lot. And now we're losing, many of us, the outdoor dining space. And how do we keep it creative? That same sort of platter menu that you can pick up on Thanksgiving, we're delivering to the rooms, so that if you don't want the traditional room service and instead you want a shared, platter of meatloaf with your family of four, you can do that. So, and I think some of those things are going to change coming out of this as well. This sort of family style dining in room service is not something any of us ever thought of, pre-COVID, but
Yeah.
people seem to enjoy it.
Yeah. So there we go. I mean, we've radical changes at the Red Lion Inn in Stockbridge, where we're now serving dinner on the front porch,
Right.
and we'll do it forever. And
Right.
we're going to wrap the front porch in a beautiful kind of canvas and see-through, so that we can extend the life of the porch. I think we'll just do that forever. So
yeah, and that porch is so iconic.
yeah.
Who wouldn't want to eat on that porch? I mean, that's a great. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of these things we're gonna all be keeping for a while.
Well, listen, I've lots and lots of good ideas written down. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And I need to get to the Ocean House. We have to correct the fact that I haven't been there to see.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome,
me, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.